Melissa, I heard that a podcast that you found inspired this beautiful movie, Buscando Alma. What was it about the podcast that connected you to create this beautiful film?
Yeah, if anyone's not familiar with it, it's called The Birth Dream by Andy Mara. I always recommend it and give her credit because this movie would not exist without her. It's a really, really gorgeous retelling of how she reconnected with her family, and it just struck me in a really emotional and deeply evocative way. I kept coming back to it. It was one of those stories that just resonated with me in a way that I knew that there was something so like profoundly universal and human because our lives and our cultures are radically different. She's a adopted at birth from Korea and she's transgender and but yet there was like so many moments that made me think about my relationship with my mom um, and and just this desperate wanting and needing for that kind of connection and that kind of like familial bond and I'm really close with my mom as I know Carolina is as well, and there was just such a beautifully human element to this podcast, and it brought just such compassion to both like the immigrant and the trans community that I felt like it was the kind of story we needed now more than ever. And so it was just a story that I kept coming back to and felt like there's something here that is worth exploring and expanding and using my own talents as a filmmaker to create a story around this inspiration.
Really,
So.
was there something about Melissa's script or about Christina that made you really want to be involved with this film?
I mean, from the beginning that I auditioned, I knew there was something very special about Buscando Alma. From the script to getting to meet Melissa in person on our callback audition and having such a strong connection from the beginning. We were both crying. We were both looking at each other like we knew we found each other. And I will be forever grateful for this story that it's helping my community as a trans Latina woman humanize our experiences. And in the world that we're living in right now, it's just like Melissa said, needed more than ever. And I cannot exemplify how important that is and how much it means to me from the bottom of my heart, from my entire family, from everyone that knows me. We really are trying our best to remind people that we deserve the same human rights and that we deserve the same love and respect and all of that is represented in the film, which is amazing. Oh, in 15 minutes you can literally go through this entire arc and find and see all these emotions portrayed that are not just there to create and evoke an emotion, but that are also making change and can really make people think differently and act differently.
Melissa, these two individuals, Nehar and Carolina, just do exceptional jobs in their performances. What was it about them that made them perfect for their roles?
Well, for Carolina in particular, as soon as I got her audition tape, I knew there was something so special about her. I knew there was a way that she was connecting to this character on such a deep level and that she was going to bring something really personal and special and wonderful to it. I mean, she left me in tears just from the first tape that I got from her. And then I wanted to be able to have the opportunity to do a callback, so just so we could see how we worked together and what kind of chemistry we had. And from the moment she walked into the room, it was that kind of special chemistry you hope for from a director actor relationship. That it was like, okay, not only can we collaborate on this from an artistic level, but I have a feeling we're going to be deep friends as well. So I was so grateful for that to transpire just from the moment she walked in the room. And then she did the callback, and I mean, just from that performance, once again, I was left weeping. So I knew just from her talent and from her generosity and her kindness to, she was just bringing such vulnerability to the role that it was better than I could have hoped for, honestly. It was everything that I needed from this script and then for the role of Alma, we auditioned via tapes, a bunch of women here in Los Angeles. But I had received a tape from a friend, Edward Cohen. He sent me Jackie's tape, and she's actually based in Miami. Um, and she just floored me. I mean, her tape was just so wonderful, similar to that special magic that Carolina brought to her audition. It was that same. She was just so perfect. Just the willingness to be vulnerable, to be emotional, to bring her own life and sensitivities into it, to take her time, to take like ownership of the space, just from the tape alone, pretty much exactly what I had always pictured when I wrote the part. So we just got really lucky that I encountered two actresses that exemplified everything I had written. And I knew that if I could just get them together on screen, that magic would happen. And I believe that it did.
And
I'm very
Carolina is
grateful.
exceptional in this role. It's powerful. Every scene you're in is just evocative. There's emotion to it all. And you have to be proud of the work you've put into all of it. But is there a particular scene that maybe you're most proud of? Maybe the shower scene is a difficult one for you. Or maybe, any particular scene could be touching to you in a different way, even personally.
Oh my God, that's probably the hardest question anyone has ever asked me because I I loved the entire film, obviously, and every scene was so unique and special in its own way. And if I had to choose one, I would have to say the meeting between Christina and Alma. I mean, it was just kind of that moment of unity where we don't know the audience. I keep hearing from the audience they didn't know what was going to happen. Is she going to get rejected? Are they going to, what's going to happen? And thankfully, we do have a beautiful happy ending that I can attest to because that's what happened with my mom. I mean, we were not separated like that, but when I came out to my mom, the moment that I'm facing her and she embraces me, that is literally what happened to me. So I just had to put myself back there. My mom has given me rosaries over my lifetime because she's also a very devoted Catholic woman. And just like Alma, um, she was able to pass on that special gift to her daughter in a form of a rosary. And I remember when I auditioned, I had a rosary with me that my mom had given me, and I used it during the audition as a prop because I was like, why shouldn't I? This is so perfect. So if anything, that moment just like brings me so much joy because it feels so personal.
Melissa, it sounds like everything was meant to be as far as Carolina's concerned. My
We
goodness.
keep saying that. We keep saying that there's something like cosmical,
Yes.
mythical, meant to be. God, the universe was just watching out for us. And there were so many things in this project that just fell together in such perfect ways that we were constantly pinching ourselves and grabbing onto each other. And me and my cinematographer too, just we had such luck with the weather and the light and
Like
the one
watching
scene
it
that
gaze back, you're probably like chills the entire time,
yeah.
Melissa.
Yeah, there was a lot of moments where me and my cinematographer would just look at each other and be like, "It's so beautiful. The light is so beautiful. The performances are so beautiful." We just continually were getting so lucky and felt so blessed that things were just falling into place in the way that they did. That scene that Carolina was just talking about, the reunion scene, was probably the most stressed I was on set because we had this really narrow window with the light. So we were right up against that setting sun, and you can see it in the film. The sun is like just on the horizon. And I was like, if we don't get it in these like two takes, we only have maybe 15 minutes to shoot this scene with this light. But both of those women just stepped into frame and brought the emotion, and it was incredible. And as soon as we cut our cameras and were done with that scene, it was such a relief to know that we had that scene as I had always imagined it and as we had written it, and it was so beautiful.
Carolina, you're so raw and emotional and just on the edge, the cusp of the history you have together in all of these scenes. How did you decompress after a long day of shooting?
Oh. I would say, I think just practice because I mean, as rough as this might sound, as a trans woman, I've had to deal with, we all struggle, right? I'm not trying to make myself here special, but I do have a little toolbox that I like to, you know, keep putting things in as an actor that I can use for these type of scenes and these type of stories that we're trying to tell. And then for me, what I would do is I would go into that toolbox, figure out what I had to do, and then go to the gym, do something different that could like take me out and remind myself that I've been doing this my whole life and that I can do it and I can go back and remember that tomorrow is another day and you know whatever happens, I'm only getting stronger as time goes on. And I was actually having this conversation with one of our new EPs, Angelique Cabral, who joined us in one of our screenings last night here in LA. And she told me, she's like, "Do you feel the sparkle within you?" And I was like, "I feel it. I feel the sparkle." And she's like, "Because it's a lot, you're gonna have it's a lot of work and you're gonna have to." And I was like, "I'm ready. I'm ready." And I feel like, going back to your question, I feel like it's that feeling of knowing that this is what I'm meant to do. And so as hard as it is to put yourself in those vulnerable positions, um, I know that my job is also to go back and reset and only make that moment make me stronger for the next one. So
So grateful for her vulnerability too. I mean, honestly, it was a director's dream. Every day you would show up and every single take she would just give it 110%. Like so much emotion and even when the cameras weren't on you, which is so generous with your scene partners. When we shot the scene with her and her husband Dan in the living room, we I think we shot your side first, and it was so raw and so beautiful and so emotional. And then when we turned the cameras around on Mark, I know some actors would have a tendency to be like, okay, I did my take and now, it's not about me. But she would just bring it with him too every time. And he kept looking over at me and being like, oh my God. Like it makes his job so easy because he's just working off of you. And you're so vulnerable and so emotional, like take after take after take. I'm sure it's an emotional workout, but for me as a director and for the other scene partners, we're just so grateful for that generosity.
Right.
Yeah,
You've got a talent for this. It means you're meant to do what you're doing right now as well. Not just advocacy work. It means you are meant to be this actress, this wonderful talent you have within you.
truly.
I think
yeah.
Carolina's on the cusp of crying now at this moment. We're one step away from pushing her.
I know. Every time we talk about the film, it just brings me back, and I'm just so appreciative. Honestly, I'm appreciative of you for sitting here with us. I'm appreciative of Melissa and our entire team that has worked so hard, that show up every time we have a screening or anything that we're doing for this campaign that we're embarking on. And I'm just like, so I just feel so grateful and I'm so lucky to be in this position. I want to cry, but it's just obviously of happiness more than anything.
We had such a beautiful screening yesterday. We're in collaboration with a couple other Oscar qualified films. So we've been doing a sort of curated for your consideration screening block. So we had such a beautiful screening last night that was really emotional and wonderful. And I think we all cried during our Q&A. So we're like still coming off of the emotion from last night. But it's wonderful too. We shot this movie exactly a year ago.
Yeah.
So it's really wonderful to be here a year later and to be immersed in this whole journey. We're just so grateful.
Melissa, I was
Yeah.
asking Carolina earlier if this could be a full featured film, and she seems to be on board. Are you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We would love to. I think it would be gorgeous. I think there's so many ways, beautiful ways to expand this story for both characters, to see more of Christina's world and her interpersonal relationships and her journey. There's so much that can be expanded on. I feel like we kind of just chipped into it, but for Alma's character as well, we'd love to see more of her journey and then more of the flashbacks to see how they got to the place that they're at. We did a ton of research for this project. I immersed myself for about a year in like books and documentaries and podcasts and taking trips down to Mexico and volunteering at shelters in Tijuana. And there's just, there's a lot of this story to tell and a lot that's important and meaningful. And if there's a way we could expand this, to get it out and to get it seen by more people too. I think short films are wonderful, but there is a very limited visibility for them. I think unless you're kind of in the industry or you are just a film enthusiast, not as many people are seeing short films. So if we had the opportunity to expand it into a feature, I think we could put it out into in front of a much broader audience, which would be really meaningful for us because we obviously believe so deeply in these themes and this message. And the goal is just to put out that message of compassion and acceptance and hope. And if we could do that in a feature and get it seen by even more people, it'd be really meaningful for us. So,
Trans
yes, we'd love to.
trans advocacy is very important, especially these days. It's always important, but especially in our current political climate, we need to be more vocal and get more involved. And hopefully, this film sets people's eyes open a little bit more. It opens their hearts a little bit more. It opens parents' minds a little bit more who have maybe been raised, sheltered with their hearts and their minds, as closed off, I should say, to their hearts and minds in that field as well. But this movie is so powerful. It's so powerful. And I look forward to more people getting to see it on film festivals and more people hopefully eventually getting to see it in their theaters.
Yeah, we hope so too.